Ready? Good evening. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz. Here. Councilmember Lasky. Mayor Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Keck.
Here.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Here.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Here.
City Manager.
Here.
City Attorney.
Here.
DPW Director.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
Community Development Director.
Here.
Fire Chief.
Here.
City Engineer.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Thank you. Any council member with a conflict of interest regarding an agenda item should disclose it at this time. Nobody. Public hearings, we have. Citizens' comment. Any citizen with correspondence to be distributed to council should provide items to city clerk prior to the start of the meeting or after the meeting has adjourned, limited to 5 minutes. Anybody? Consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval, any member of council may have an item removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Items include approval of minutes, cash balances, revenue and expenses, balance sheet, quarterly financial update, quarterly investment update, consideration of Music Sparks meeting host, the Roots on the River concert series. At this time, council will take action to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of approving a provisional recreational marijuana retail license for Sheboygan Management Associates LLC. The City of Manistee has received an application for a recreational marijuana retail establishment at 240 Arthur Street from Sheboygan Management Associates LLC, DBA Apothecary Manistee. The application has been reviewed by department directors, the city attorney, and the Marijuana License Review Committee per Chapter 867 of the City Codified Ordinances. The MLRC is recommending approval of this application. If approved by City Council, the city clerk shall issue an applicant a provisional license. The applicant must receive their State of Michigan operating license and complete the business registration process before they receive their final municipal license from the city. At this time, council can take action to approve the provisional recreational marijuana retail license for Sheboygan Management Associations LLC. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Heather? No. Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of the request from the owner of the Renaissance Park Lot Number 7 to sell the lot. Bob's Riffing, owner of Renaissance Park Lot Number 7, have requested consent to sell their lot as required by Section
Okay, you're good to go.
4.1 of Renaissance Park Protective Covenants. The potential new owner, Brian Superior Seal Coating, intends to build a pole building with office space for their business operations, installation of a bulk storage tank, and anticipates adding asphalt recycler in the future. The new owner would be subject to the protective covenants. At this time, council could take action to consent to Renaissance Park Lot Number 7 owner's request to sell the lot. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Is one of the requirements that they have to build within a certain time?
Yes, yeah, I believe it's within, I have to double check, but I think it's within 2 years.
Okay, and they've agreed to that, so,
The owner is here, I think is that the plan? Yep, yes.
I guess what I don't understand is why the current owner didn't build anything in the required time. And how that kind of thing happens, you know, it's Article 3. And it states that the city can buy the property back. And maybe we should consider that sometimes, because obviously the person values usually go up.
And that is something we can look at. We can do kind of a,
Just a little bit of background. When that park was developed, I actually worked for Avon Marsh Consultants. We did the design and platted the industrial park. a lot of the provisions that are in those covenants refer to the Renaissance zone classification. So the state was going to forgive taxes and so forth. Based on that, the city got a grant to build the infrastructure for that, but we also got a loan to build the infrastructure. And one of the terms of the loan was the amount of jobs that were created would forgive principal for that loan. So the city put in a lot of a lot of that language to protect itself so that it could get the job creation and then get that loan converted basically into a grant. So, you know, a lot of that is almost obsolete now.
Thanks,
How
Jeff.
did that work, Jeff? Did that ever materialize or it kind of,
It did.
did it? Okay.
Yeah.
And just
Well-
going back, they're supposed to commence construction within a year, so that's under Article 3.
It's been a while.
I guess then maybe what we need to do in order to make it a more viable land option, purchasing, is redo that covenant. If it's obsolete, why are we keeping this old language? Which is, you know,
I agree with you, because I
Yeah.
think it's ridiculous that they have to ask to sell the property. I mean,
well, and, you know, we might be able to sell it for more
Yeah.
if there aren't these restrictive covenants, because I've heard
Revisit
other
it.
realtors reflect on that. They'd love to buy the land, so I don't know.
And I have talked with the city attorney about it, so there's a whole process for getting rid of the restrictive covenants, and then there's a process for enforcing it too. Both are kind of lengthy processes, but I think I've talked to the mayor about it. There's been an interest in, potentially looking into, getting away from the covenants. So that's something I can get back with
Start
you
looking
about the
at.
process. So.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky. Councilmember Raditz.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of applications to boards and commissions. The city clerk has taken action to advertise vacancies on the Board of Review, Compensation Commission, Downtown Development Authority, Historic District Commission, Neighborhood Restoration and Beautification Commission, Tree Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals. Nominations for council appointments do not require a second. After all nominations are made, council votes on the nominees until one nominee receives the majority of support. The following applications have been received. The Historic District Commission, 2 vacancies, term ending 2/28/29. The purpose, Historic Preservation, council appointment. Lee Trucks, 453 2nd Street. Angela Quinn, 268 First Avenue. Kristen Sumner, 329 6th Street. Julie Bowers, 314 7th Street. Neighborhood Restoration and Beautification Commission, 1 vacancy, term ending 4/30/26. The purpose to identify, research, and recommend opportunities, resources to help prevent, remediate, and eliminate blight and help beautify the city of Manistee. Council appointment, Julie Bowers, 314 7th Street. At this time, the mayor and council could take action to make appointments as noted. Are there any nominations for the first vacancy on the Historic District?
I'll nominate Lee Trucks for the Historic District.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Trucks.
Councilmember Lasky.
Trucks.
Mayor Sullivan.
Trucks.
Councilmember Keck.
Trucks.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Trucks. Trucks.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Trucks.
Nomination approved.
Thank you. Is there a nomination for the second vacancy on the Historic District?
I'll nominate Angela Quinn, 268 First Avenue.
Okay, Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Quinn.
Councilmember Lasky.
Quinn.
Mayor Sullivan.
Quinn.
Councilmember Keck.
Quinn.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Quinn.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Quinn.
Nomination approved.
Thank you. Is there a nomination for the NRBC?
I'll nominate Julie Bowers at 314 7th Street.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Ruzga.
Bowers.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Bowers.
Councilmember Keck.
Bowers.
Mayor Sullivan.
Bowers.
Councilmember Lasky.
Bowers.
Councilmember Raditz.
Bowers.
Nomination approved.
Thank you. At this time, Mr. Harless will report on the NRBC.
Hi. Sarah, do you want this? Use the down arrow to advance.
I am the chairman of the NRBC, which is the Neighborhood Restoration and Beautification Commission. Our purpose is, we have two purposes basically that we review every meeting. We are trying to identify, research, and recommend opportunities to help prevent, remediate, and eliminate blight in the city of Manistee. So that was the original intent of the NRBC. And while we try to keep that as an underlying purpose of our commission, now that there is a blight officer, that kind of is not our main goal any longer. But we also look to identify, research, and recommend opportunities and resources to help beautify the city of Manistee. And currently, we are a member short, but no longer, because you just voted in Julie Bowers, so thank you for that. There's myself, Andrew Stafford, and Kathy Grabowski, who are both here tonight. Jane Shimke, Jim Grabowski, who is the representative from City Council, Nicholas Lucina, Maddie Kazmierski, who is our city liaison. She replaced Chief Glass, who was the city liaison up until then. We are thankful to have Heather Peffley as our recording secretary. And then I just wanted to mention our past members, because this year we had a lot of change in membership. Lucas Richardson, who's also here, Jess Stallings, Mary Wilkosh, Kayla Willem, Liz Lasky, and Jermaine was also prior to that. So we've had a lot of change in our membership this past year, so I thought it was important to mention them, just because some of the projects that we've worked on this year, all those people that I mentioned were involved in those projects. Some of the things that we've, in terms of reviewing policy that we've looked at, Mr. Gamble asked us to look at a public art easement. So we reviewed and recommended the public art easement that you as a council adopted in August of 2025. So that's the public art easement, specifically looking at murals. If there was to be a mural done in the city of Manistee, we now have policy that you guys have adopted and approved. Looking at blight and the vacant building ordinance. So the code enforcement officer came and gave our commission an update, kind of educated us on what blighted structures are and what vacant buildings are, which was truly an eye-opener to all of us that sit on the commission, and nice to hear, because what I think the general public thinks is a blighted building or a vacant building is not technically what the definition of a blighted structure or vacant building is. So that kind of gave us a little education. So if someone brings that up to us, we can kind of say, well, that's actually not a blighted building or a vacant building, and this is why. When the code enforcement officer came at that time, also kind of updated us on where the city was at in terms of how many tickets they had written, things like that. So it was nice to hear that now that we have a code enforcement officer, things are starting to happen. And then we also worked with the Community Development Office on the Chill Grant. So when the Chill Grant got underway and all the applications came in, I think we had 2 work sessions where we reviewed applications for that Chill Grant, just making sure that the applicants had all of the parts and pieces that they needed to have. We didn't necessarily pick recipients of the grant, but we helped the Community Development Office go through all of the grants that they received to make sure that they had all the necessary things to be considered for the grant. And then we also have quarterly projects. So for our spring project, we do a junk cleanup with Republic Services and the DPW, and this past year it was on May 3rd. And so what that consists of is down at the Armory, DPW does bring down trucks. They had a truck full of scrap metal, but Republic Services brings down 2 trucks that anybody in the city can come on down and bring all their junk. Again, just another way to get blight basically out of people's yard and people's homes. And then waste removal. This year it was paint. In a prior year it was tires. And so the goal is every other year we can do paint one year, tires another year. I think there was 2 trucks of junk, and they went and dumped and came back. I think there was 1 full truck of scrap metal and a full truck of paint this year. And I know there was more interest this year than there was the year prior. This is our 2nd year doing it, and we're planning on doing it again this spring. We're appreciative to have DPW help us out with that as well. For our summer project, this was our 2nd year being involved in Kids Safety Day. So members of the NRBC attended and just did community outreach for beautification. Again, handing out seed packets and lawn and leaf bags, just encouraging families to be involved in beautifying their porches, their lawns, their house, whatever. And then another thing that happened finally this summer and now this winter as well is we, as an NRBC, had designed and purchased banners that had the city logo put on them. Our original intent for those banners was to be hung along US 31. Unfortunately, we couldn't come to an agreement with Consumers Energy to make that happen. So we were lucky enough that once the light poles got replaced out here on Maple Street, DPW was able to put up some of those banners out here on Maple Street, as well as this summer they did some down in the parking lot here at City Hall. The one that you can see pictured here has the City Police Department logo on it, but there's also other ones just with the city logo on them. We have more, so we're just continuing to search for spaces that we can put them. Our fall project, we did a cleanup here at City Hall this fall. That was in September. And Andrew worked hard on power washing the steps. We cleaned out some of the gutter area, raked leaves, snipped some branches off trees. Just did a cleanup around City Hall, basically. And there was members of the NRBC, members of City Council that were there to help with that. For our winter project, we wanted to incorporate what was happening around the city and in downtown with decorating, especially getting ready for the Sleigh Bell Parade. So we just did some City Hall decorating outside. As you can see there, we just put up some garlands, some wreaths, and some lights. Chief Glass helped us out. He, at that time, was no longer our liaison, but was still involved in planning for the project, so he came and helped us out for that. And then there's obviously a final picture of it all lit up at night. So, what's next? We're going to continue to find locations for our city banners because we ordered a number of them, and we still have some that we'd like to get out and up. We're going to continue with our quarterly projects and add to them wherever we see fit, working on some beautification things. We have some ideas where we'd like to also coordinate with the Parks Department with that as well. We started discussions at our December meeting to consider looking at a mural project. I know that's something that Mr. Gamble wanted us to focus on, to remediate the First Street wall, so where there was previously a mural and no longer a mural, now that we have that public art easement, and we can move forward on that. So that's, and I also know other municipalities who have done it. I know Liz has a lot of information that she can share with us on how other municipalities are doing it, as well as Andrew. So we're looking at how other communities are doing it as well, because we want to do it right. And then one of our long-term goals is the US 31 corridor. So we know that's happening starting next year, and what can be done for beautification on the US 31 corridor, and what would be our role in that, if any. You know, working with the tree commission, maybe we will be able to put up banners along US 31 when that corridor happens. What does that look like? So those are some of our what's next and long-term goals. And that is all I have. Do you have questions for me?
How many banners do you have left?
Oh, that's a good question, because I'm not sure how many got put up
Okay.
a few weeks ago.
Okay.
But I can find out.
So what are we doing about volunteers?
Well, that's another great question. So, like we talked about at our meeting, the volunteers, because we're not doing the same type of projects as the NRBC had done in the past prior to me even joining, we're not really maintaining a volunteer list unless there's a project that comes up where we're seeking additional volunteers. And then we would put a call out for volunteers.
Okay, Bill, did you ever get you were gonna get me a readout of what volunteers do? Remember, I don't know if you remember when I asked you about that. And we were gonna figure out where we can get these volunteers and what is the real explanation for volunteers?
I think it was just for community projects, and then when they're needed, you could, basically let them know there's an opportunity. The thought was the schools and things like that, but there's plenty of cleanup projects. The thought was if you had a list of, different things to do, and then you had a list of volunteers, you could do one for a spring cleanup or something like that. But I think weeding's always, not that these are fun projects, but I know Lucas was out there weeding the entrance signs, so there's plenty to do, but it is a matter of just, making some a priority and then matching them up with a list.
Heather?
I think one of the discussions about volunteers a little while back was it's hard to maintain a list when we might not have a project for 6 months that we need volunteers for. So then you have a list, but then you don't need them for 6 months, and 6 months down the road, that group of people on the list might not necessarily be available or no longer want to be volunteers, so.
I think you still have to have a list so you at least have somebody to call.
I always have a group of school kids I can call, don't worry. I got people.
Good. Keep Kathy working.
Yeah. Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, thank you.
Okay, now Sean and Lucas will do the annual State of the Streets report.
Mine's gonna be a lot more boring than. All right. Good evening. So here to present on the Transportation Improvement Plan and State of the Streets for 2025. So just to start, the Transportation Improvement Plan, if you're unaware of what that is, it's a plan that the city and Spectrum kind of duly maintain, that shows a lot of detailed information about the city street network, including Pazer ratings, which is the surface rating of the streets and their condition, asset management principles, project costs, grants, funding availability like your budget, preventative maintenance techniques, and we also show like utility upgrades when we go through the plans. I set up that sabotage for myself. It's also updated annually during the budgeting process right about now, so that's why we try to give this presentation in winter. We update this plan on a 3 to 5 year projection. Showing on the map there is currently the 3-year TIP plan, all the streets and the year that we're currently planning on implementing those construction projects. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. So what's asset management on streets? So just an example here, you see on the top left here, this is a deterioration curve of pavement. For all intents and purposes, this is a pretty old example, but it makes sense still. You start with a brand new street, and then it deteriorates over 15 years, and it gets down to a fair condition. You do an overlay project that costs $80,000. You bring it back up to a perfect street again, and then it deteriorates again. So over 30 years, you spend $80,000 to get that curve that you see on the graph there. Asset management is applying the right fix to the right place at the right time. So if you were to apply an asset management technique like preventative maintenance for this same segment, over that same 30-year period, it might cost half the amount of money, and you actually end up with a better street in the end. So preventative maintenance, such as crack sealing or seal coating, you might do that every year, every other year. And then that will be a lot smaller dollar amounts on that street segment over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8 projects over that 30 years. So you end up with a better street in the end, with a lot more projects, but they're a lot smaller projects. So in our transportation improvement plan, there's a lot of considerations that go into selecting what streets to select to rehab, because there's so many streets out there and there's only so many dollars. Just a few, I'm just gonna kind of go around and list them to get you thinking. Is it a major or local street? What kind of treatment method needs to happen for that street? Are there safety improvements or drainage improvements that need to happen? What are the traffic volumes? Are there grants or developments that we can leverage getting the street reconstructed? How many properties or residents are impacted? Can we apply asset management, or is it beyond conditions to apply asset management? What's the budget? Where's it at? What kind of feedback that we get from the community and council? What's the condition of the surface, and what's the rideability? What's the impact to get the street reconstructed? Are there utilities underneath, developers that are developing properties next to it? And then can we try to make the project a lot bigger and go economy of scale to save on fees from the contractors like mobilization? So everything is considered when we talk about the streets. It's not just, maybe we should do this street this year. There's a lot of discussion, and we probably have dozens of meetings to try to stretch the dollar in the end. So the 2025 State of the Streets here, Spicer and the city drove every single street segment and did a Paiser rating of every segment and came up with the the map on the right-hand side. So there's a various amount of different conditions on all the city streets. By mileage, all of the street segments that are in the blue category on the pie chart there are in normal maintenance category. So what that means is they're pretty much brand new streets. They need street sweeping and normal maintenance. About a quarter of the city is in the 25% preventative maintenance category, which is your crack seals, the streets that are starting to deteriorate a little bit. And then we get into the light rehab, which is projects like, segments that need treatment methods like a microsurface like we did on 8th Street, which is just a little slurry coat to give it a few more years of life. Heavy rehab candidates, which are where we would grind off the surface and then repave it to give it a little bit more structural life. And then reconstruction is a segment that is beyond repair. So just the breakdown, out of the entire city, those are all of the segments that are in the Paiser rating of 1 or 2 reconstruction segment or category. This is about 80% of the total cost of the entire street network. So $66 million would repair about 12 miles of the city street network, which is all those segments. So if we flip back to the other slide here, you could see 27% of the whole city is in the reconstruction category, but it costs 80% of the total cost to get that 27%. In the 3 to 4 category, the heavy rehab, it's about 17 million. That's about 20%. So you're starting to get really close to all of the total cost already, with only getting for about half of the city. And then 5 to 6 in the light rehab, which is about $1 million, about 1% of the total cost. These are kind of rounded too, so that's why the math might not work out a little bit. But and then preventative maintenance, 7 to 10, and normal maintenance, which is about half the cost, or I'm sorry, half a percent of the total cost. So as you can see, 25% of the city is in this category of preventative maintenance, but it costs so much less than the reconstruction, heavy rehab, and the light rehab. So asset management tells you to start from your best roads and maintain them going downwards with the amount of funds that you have. And I know that's probably opposite of what everybody thinks, because you see a bad road and you're like, let's fix it. But you want to stretch your dollar to maintain the whole network in the condition that they're at, before you start repairing the roads that are in disrepair. So in summary here, we just showed the breakdown of each of those categories. So you can see on this pie chart, you can't even see the yellow and the green slivers on the top, which are your preventative maintenance and your light rehab, which is the total cost to fix all of those categories in the entire system compared to the reconstruction and the heavy rehab. So just going back to the tip now, what our current plan shows right now, program dollars in 2026, $350,000 from the major and local street funds. And that doesn't include what we're currently working on right now with MDOT to see if they can fund a lot of improvements on the detour route for First Street and Maple Street for the US 31 project. And then in 2027 and 2028 are close to $2 million worth of program projects. In 2026, currently we have planned for miscellaneous overlays to relieve some of those really poor segments just because there's only so many dollars, and I think the strategy right now is to provide some temporary relief for some homeowners that are on some of those really poor segments. It might not be the most practical for asset management, but it was the decision that was made last year, and I think it went over pretty well. On the major streets, this will be coming to council, I think, in the next 2 council meetings as well, but River Street from Spruce to Maple is going to have a facelift. First Street and Maple Street, as I mentioned, are the detour route, and then in local streets there are no current projects planned for this year. 2027, the only major street is 14th Street, which is a small segment up at the top of the hill by the water tower, the south water tower. And then 4th Street between US 31 and Hancock, and McKee Street between 4th and 5th. And then 15th and Maywood are also up by the water tower there. In 2028, major streets are River Street east of Maple to 31. And then Division Street and Lake Street, which are kind of a part of the Gateway project, and then the local streets, 4th Street, Maple to 31. And then just a reminder here, the MDOT is scheduled to reconstruct US 31 in 2027 south of the bridge, and then north of the bridge in 2028. Lots of construction. So just kind of reflecting back on the PASER ratings a little bit, this is in the State of the Streets pamphlet that you have. The average major street PASER rating for the entire system seems to be maintained a little bit. It is going up a little bit, which is good. That's what we want to see. We want to see at least maintaining it. And then the local street PASER rating average is unfortunately declining, and that's just a fact of the matter of not having enough funding. But we have had some inclines in there over the years, and you can see they pretty much are the times where we had utility projects or some of the combined sewer separation projects. So street grant funding, we try, both Spicer and the city try to apply for as many grants as we can. I just listed what has been applied for in the past 5 years, and we did not receive quite a few of these grants, so we keep trying. We have received quite a few, though. On the other hand, Maple Street Bridge, we got repainted and some preventative maintenance stuff there from MDOT bridge funds, and then some Category B and F grants and small urban grants with MDOT. And then we do have a notice of intent right now. We don't have the grant agreement in place from the MEDC, but we were notified that we got the $756,000 for the streetscape improvements, which will have a facelift on River Street. And then some upcoming grant applications. The Category B grants are always due in, I think, June. And Jeff and I just talked about this the other day, and we might consider going after a Category B grant for 4th Street, but that's not until 2028. And then not a grant, but potential funding from MDOT for 1st and Maple Street detour. I don't know if I can find this. is. Okay. And then finally here, just wanted to really stress the fact that city staff does really try to stretch the dollar. There's only limited funding sources, Act 51, Capital Improvement Fund, general funds, and we try to maximize the return on our investment as much as we can by using asset management. So with that, take any questions. And I think for gonna help
Is
me.
there any hint of when we can even out on this whole program? Are we ever gonna get to halfway?
Well, right now, I think on the cover there, it's at 50%. Let me grab one of those.
When we were preparing this, one of the takeaways that I had, you can see it in the graphs, we spent $1.9 million this past year on street improvements, and it barely moved the needle at all. And so with the additional funding that we're gonna get from the state of Michigan, Ed's still working through what those numbers are, and when we work through the budget process in the next 2 months, we'll be trying to forecast those out and seeing how we can impact the street network better. But after decades and decades and decades of not investing in it, this is where we're at, and it's gonna take money to get us back out of it.
Would you mind going back to the one screen before the phaser grant? Yeah, the one before this one. So I really can't visualize, we're taking care of fixing the streets for the construction on 31 on the west side of the highway. But, some of the worst roads are on the east side of the highway. And one of the routes, 12th Street, like behind the old hospital, the one that's skinny, we've already closed the road that we've used for 100 years on 14th Street. But then the route around it, it's not even plowed in the winter. So I don't know what the plan is so people can get to their homes, like in along Manistee Lake there. I don't know. Like in this area. Because I don't visualize how that's going to work. And I haven't seen, I did go to some meetings, but I really didn't see that either. So I guess I'm really concerned how those people are going to get to their homes, especially around the 9th Street boat launch area and so on.
During the
Construction on,
31
yeah,
project.
because roads have been closed.
The discussions that we've had with the state at this point, and we're starting to get pinched into, we're probably just a little over a year before the construction begins. But what we've discussed with them is having some traffic control plans where they restrict how much of the major street intersections are under construction at one time, and maybe alternating. So let's say if First Street's open, the next major street would be Fifth Street. They could work on Fifth Street, but then we keep 8th Street open, and so that's kind of revolving, so that every few blocks that there's a major intersection that people can cross. And they may be, maybe setting up some temporary traffic control for that as well. But honestly, I would anticipate like a signalized intersection like First Street or Murky Road certainly can get you crossways.
Right, but that's
the alternating
out of the
signals.
way.
Understood.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, there's a portion of the detour in 2028 that will take you from US 31. The detour is M22 to Donce Road, to Cott Road, to Lakeshore Road, and back to US 31. I mean, it's like a 6-mile detour.
Like we were talking last time, we brought up the bill, that Hospital Hill, of course, is closed. And the people living on top, and those people in that area, when they close the highway, where are we all gonna go? Are they gonna climb Pine Tree Hill in the middle of winter time? That's a mess. I travel that place.
Well, and the 12th Street at the bottom of Vine Street Hill is unusable, and it's, you know, there's a skinny one-lane road that isn't plowed in the winter.
It's plowed.
Oh, no. Well, wasn't last time I tried to use it.
Yeah.
Because it's a route I have to take. And
The segment between High and Vine Street is plowed on the regular plow routes. The segment between Engelman and High Street, we have to do with a pickup truck.
Oh,
So it doesn't get plowed as early as the other routes.
that may have been the case.
Yeah, but you're right, it's so narrow.
Yeah.
That was actually not platted as a right-of-way. It was city-owned property they converted lots and paved the road through there, and
Well,
that's
it sure
a
looks
tricky
like a road.
stretch.
It's just an extension of like 12th Street. So,
What on Fourth Street, are you gonna, from Cypress to Maple, or which, on Fourth?
Almost the entire, well, from Spruce Street all the way east to be Ramsdale,
Okay.
the water main is in very poor condition there, and a lot of that street segment is in poor condition and very narrow. And so if you look at the budgets in the transportation improvement plan and in the water capital improvement plan, both of those have broken that street into, I think, 3 or 4 segments. So we're trying to fund the upgrade of the street and the water main at the same time.
Yeah, because they're going way down there, already past the bricks going down.
Yeah, and the segment east of 31, the water main is in, even though it's undersized and small, we've had a lot of main breaks there, and the condition of the pipe, of the cast iron pipe, is very poor. So that's the priority segment on 4th Street.
I will mention that Care Center Drive is gonna be open, that's why we're looking at that little stretch over by Hospital Hill, just kind of fixing that one area, because that's a connector.
Up by the Maywood Tower.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess the other thing I noticed is that we have moved over time, decades, from any concrete roads to all asphalt, which doesn't last as long. Could that be, part of our issue with we can't keep up? I know it's tremendously expensive to put in a concrete road, but some of those roads that get really high usage that are main roads, it's like we don't even consider it.
It is considered, and you're absolutely correct. The concrete roads will last 3 times longer than the asphalt roads, but they also cost twice as much to do them.
Right.
So if we had the funds available, that would be an option and probably be implemented. But that's why they're not done, is because they're so expensive to do upfront.
Yes.
That,
Thank
it said you said like 350,000 in '26, and then in '27 it jumped to 1.95, and then in '28 it was 1.82. Is that money coming out of our budget, or are we hopeful that MDOT will supply it in '27, '28? It's a big jump.
So in '26, the 350,000 are street funds that we have programmed.
Okay.
And the work that MDOT has verbally committed to us that they're gonna fund us to do a mill and fill. So basically resurface Maple Street from River Street all the way to 12th Street.
The roads that are going to be detoured on?
Because that is gonna be used as a detour path.
Okay,
And
that's
then
fair.
the segment of First Street from Maple Street to US 31. The engineers are working right now to update what those costs are, but the state has verbally committed to that. So the way we expect that to happen is, we will program that into the transportation program this year, this upcoming budget, and would likely do that work this fall in September. And then when the state obligates the full US 31 project, then they have the funding access, then they will be able to basically reimburse the city for that. So those costs aren't built into 26 yet, because we don't have the numbers finalized. In 27 and 28, a lot of those projects are utility driven, and so we have to match the money that we've got available in the local and the major street funds along with the utility improvements. And so all those plans have to mesh together. And that's why you see some bigger numbers there.
But that wouldn't all be the city's money? Part of that would hopefully be from somewhere else, is that
Now, those are all city funds
1.95?
contributing, yep.
That's, okay, that's a
When
big,
the utilities, when we're upgrading a water main, the water system pays for a portion of that roadway to be upgraded because it's impacted by the water main, and then the street funds pay for the balance of it. It's a way that we can hybrid and leverage the funding to get more streets completed.
okay, thanks.
And a big reason too why that you see it dip too is we just did the truck route and Washington Street, which were, I think it was like over $3 million of investment in those two projects, so.
Thank you, guys. Okay, budget priority discussion, Ed Bradford and Mr. Gamble.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to zoom in a little bit. But, thank you to all the council members for returning back their budget priorities. Tried to categorize them. Honestly, we put their arbitrary numbers about council member 1 through 7, but this was the feedback from the council. Just wanted to share this with the group. I think you can review it, see if you feel like your item was categorized properly. I also wanted to give the opportunity to each council member to just kind of talk about what they see as a priority this budget calendar year and just kind of maybe react to the what they're seeing from the rest of council as well. So I'll give you a minute to look at it and then we can maybe just go down the line with that.
However you want to do it is fine with me. You want me to start?
I'm sure your Councilmember Roscoe, would you like to go first or do you want to start elsewhere?
Well, I guess I'm not sure what's expecting, but when I look at the services is the highest, most votes. My definition of services might be different than Jim's or yours. So what does the city management consider services to be?
Yeah, I would see. And that's, I think, part of getting the feedback too from council, because I'm trying to categorize these, like when you, city services maintenance, and then there's maintain and improve existing, I think this is definitely maintenance. City services, that could be, yeah, just kind of park maintenance, that could be, so I think, yeah.
I guess that's kind of what I look at, is like it's continue at least with, you know, I have good drinking water. I have, my parks are nice. My roads, well, but we know that's a problem. But everything that the city provides, you know, I'm glad my garbage gets picked up every week. You know, so that makes sense to me, because those are the things we sometimes take for granted and
So,
really
yeah.
don't appreciate. Because it's always there. So keep up the good work.
I got a question on hers, because I wasn't really sure what we're considering services either. So I'm a little lost on this, and I'm not sure why we have roads on there since we're already doing the roads. So I don't know why that's a factor in there.
Yeah, I think it's just making it a priority is the idea. So, so these are the ones for services, but
So, and then, you know, I know in past years we had, public safety was higher rated, but over time, it seems like we've been able to fill open positions and so on. And, you know, we've done a lot of work on the fire department building. So maybe that's why it's a lower number now? Not that we don't think it's important, but it's maybe not a focus any longer.
I think these are a little bit too broad, because I look at services and think that that includes maintain services, public safety services. What do we got on here?
And I guess if the focus was more on, yeah.
Existing
park
services to
maintenance.
residents, like I think they're all the same thing. Or the same category.
So I guess that's what I'm looking for is, where's the specific thing about, obviously, brush pickup, or, I mean, we have a contract with the Republic for trash, so I think that's kind of something we're set with. So where you saw an opportunity or something that we should prioritize this budget season, I guess that's, the other ones I felt like roads, it was pretty obvious which ones. I mean, that's just kind of streets, road repair, but definitely that's, I'm looking for a little more, I guess, fine tuning services. I think if I can categorize it a little bit better with what was provided. And it's difficult because I think you're giving a succinct priority, which, 2 or 3 words, and then I'm trying to be more concise with 1 word, and that's why I think kind of going through, if you're going to say, well, when I was thinking about services, I was thinking about park maintenance, and we had a park employee a couple of years ago, that's shown dividends, but I think we could do more in, this area, or maintaining the bathrooms or things like that. So I guess anything you think that would be helpful for us when we're.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and Lainey, I don't mean to step on your toes, but for instance, I'm number 7. I think you can all figure that out. But partnerships and communication with citizenry, I think fit in with those, it, in a way, I know I defined it that way, but it also speaks to what we're providing for our partnerships and communication with our external public. I see so many of our fire and police are local. They're coming back to us. That was really intentional with our chiefs, really putting together attractive and competitive packages. I think if we look back 3 years ago at where we were with blight compared to where we are now with the online services and having someone specifically in charge of blight, we heard from our neighborhood improvement committee how much their role has changed. And now our law enforcement is no longer tied up with blight complaints. They're free to do what they need to do, which is to keep our citizens safe. So I understand what Bill is talking about, because from our own personal vantage point, we can have things that fit into multiple categories. And I think this dialogue will help us to have a better understanding of where have we been and what do we want to do next, and how does that get expressed in a budget?
Well, I wouldn't consider services part of public safety, because that's a separate item. So it wouldn't be repeated under services.
And see, I might. So that's why we're having this dialogue. And it's for budget purposes, again.
So when I see that, I think it's the things we already have that aren't itemized otherwise as services. It is, we spend a lot on our beaches, and it does pay us back with visitors and so on. So focusing on things like that help the community overall. We spend money on our river walk, that brings in people. All those things, focus on things that will give us dividends back with tourism and home sales or whatever that make our community attractive to others. Those are the kind of services I'm picturing.
And I would have to agree. A lot of people, I think, would look at services as trash pickup and,
Yeah.
Tree clippings picked up. I would assume that's going to continue.
Yes.
We're never going to take that away from well, we would hope not, but aren't going to take that away.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the maintenance and services, I see more of a excel what we already have. So the beaches, we're talking about this, music pavilion down at the beach. Well, why don't we focus on what we've already got and beautify that a little bit more? I'm a big proponent of restrooms down by the Lions Pavilion. I mean, we're so worried about doing bigger and better, but in my opinion, we need to take what's there, improve on it, and then move on to the next. That's kind of where I sit on services and maintenance, is to just grow on what we've already got. You know, we're not gonna do any better on trash pickup at this point, and I mean, we've got that going for us, you know, our safety and things like that, they're working. And until they're not, I guess that isn't a big concern of mine. I mean, yes, maintain it, but, you know, kind of expand on, and I think blight is huge right now. I just do. We're asking people to come into this little town of ours and see the beauty of it, and you ride down Maple Street and see these homes, and, you know, no, not everybody gets down on some of those side back streets that we know of, but we've got to start getting on this stuff. You know, our downtown district, you know, I'm appalled at some of the things that we allow to continue in our downtown district. We have got Christmas ornaments hanging, and, you know, in the middle of July. I mean, that's the kind of thing that people are gonna notice, those main, when I come on a vacation, I'm looking at their downtown district and their, you know, their shopping and their, you know, their bars and their restaurants, and everything is flourishing. The Wander Inn was perfect. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I'm getting on a tangent here, sorry.
Okay, I'm agreeing with you.
Yes.
I think when we look at historically, the things that this council has been able to do within our budget parameters are somewhat limited. It's things that we have partnerships with that have truly transformed our footprint and our identity. The building that was taken down by the land bank on the way
Yep.
to First Street Beach.
Yep.
I wish it was within our purview to have been, but we have a lot of individual bad actors, and when it comes to blight, we have the ability to do the stick, which takes it to the court, out of our hands.
Right.
It has an outcome that we can't necessarily count up as removing blight. But when we do work with the land bank, when we do work with external partners, when we put it out there in our community, that's when we have seen measurable results that change our community for the better. Sorry, Liz, I think I cut you off.
That's okay. No, I was just going to say, I was number one, and I did say maintain and improve existing city-owned properties. And to piggyback off of what Lucas and Jeff presented, all of a sudden, we have a $66 million, I think it was the number, whatever, it was gigantic, unbelievable. And if we had done that maintenance over time, like you had said, the $30,000 a year would have been 36 rather than 80 in the one example. If we can keep, and everybody knows in your own home, your own anything, if you keep it up, it's a lot less. And so, you know, like one of the suggestions, and it's a good idea, but maybe not right for the time, is to build more restrooms. I don't know if anybody's used the one by Trophies, but it's an embarrassment to our town. That one needs to be gutted. So instead of building more restrooms that we have to clean, maybe we should fix our existing ones and make those something of pride. So I thought if we took and put some budget into the maintaining what we already own, and then we might not have to have the big money to completely gut them and redo them and
So
tear them
yes,
down.
the maintenance is a huge
Huge, and that's such a hard.
category, right? Everybody's kind of got their thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, in terms of the budget, that's what we're really talking about, is making sure that these entities that are already planning long-term have the assets that they need to, not just in this year, or if they are going to get one-time funds in this budget, what is the expectation from that fund, right? Because we don't know what's going to be happening in 3 years. So in terms of budgeting, I'm hearing from just the dialogue that maintenance and preserving assets is important. And improving assets within our footprint is important. Is that right?
Yes, and that's what gives, it's not all for the tourists, it's what gives the community the pride in your own community. When you go somewhere and we have that, I think of some of it, but we can just continually upgrade and make what we have even better. And our own people will appreciate it. Just like the Riverwalk, when that was improved, it's 90% of the people on that Riverwalk are local people, and they appreciated the updates to that.
Well, and that's why I went along with that Lions Pavilion. If we're gonna build that, deal down at the beach, you're gonna need bathrooms, because people gotta go way over, and they don't get a chance they should come over this way towards the Lions Pavilion, so that, because they're complaining about walking so far. The other thing was, and Bill is gonna laugh, but I brought up since he came here that he needed an assistant, because he's overwhelmed, and I just keep telling him
I agree.
he needs some help, and to take some of these little jobs away from him. And housing, of course, we're all looking at housing being built and all that, so. But I've complained about a lot of the things we're arguing about. I mean, you can go down 12th Street right now. There's a guy, I don't know if it's a water tank or what, I don't know if you've seen it, Jeff. It's in a snowbank now. It's been there for weeks. And the guy, he's got even his little car to haul it out to the road, and he doesn't put it in a tote or nothing, he just leaves it there. So it's sitting out there by Greenwich. And so, but we have a lot of blight. If you don't see it, I mean, it's sad, because we've got it all over the place. And you go down Manistee Street, that's another street with, they tore the factory down, left the cement, and it's a big mess down there. So we gotta clean up the blight. I've been on that for years.
I feel like that's a mixed result, because when we issue those tickets, I think the ordinance committee did an excellent job updating the blight specifications and being able to get it to court faster. But honestly, I mean, unless we're talking about a budget item where we're buying blighted properties, or if we're talking about a budget item that increases blight enforcement, even then, that just puts more into the court and out. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily happen as quickly as we would like, or with the type of outcome from the court that we would like. So when we're talking about budget, I agree that perhaps the blight issue could be handled by an assistant with Bill, and keeping up on that and keeping those communications with our city attorney going, making sure that every time we've gone to the court with a blight, we've come back with better information about how to word our ordinances, how to prepare what we're bringing to court in the first time. Even though I feel like it hasn't been the outcomes that we've hoped for, I think we've learned so much as we've done it. So I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but as a budget item, I'd like to burrito that blight into an assistant with Bill, so that those things are getting, not that, Bill, you're doing an excellent job. I'm not like trying to step on your toes, but these are complicated, complex legal issues. And I think some support in that department, we would see more outcome in the city, and we could get a little more bang for our buck.
Appreciate that. And I do think having the community development department in-house, and Jerry has been very good about getting the structural blight addressed in court, and then I think that chill grant, improving the houses. So I think we're doing a lot of different things with blight. We do rely on, obviously, the court. In terms of a budget item, I think there's probably some that we might have to spend money to demo these houses too. So there are some, potentially that's the kind of thing, if you're saying it's a priority and then there's an opportunity for us to demo a house and then we bring it before this council, that's the kind of thing that.
How does that live in our budget right now?
Right, I think one year
Separate item, or
previous years when it was, we did kind of budget money for a demo. And then this year this is more as needed, we'd bring it using fund balance. And I think we have a couple that we're looking at right now for that.
Yeah, and just to follow up on Bill's comment, it's a little difficult to budget $25,000 for a house demo when you have a really difficult time balancing the budget and maintaining services. So we've opted to take that out of fund balance when and if those arise. And I think that's probably the same approach we'll use this year.
So I have a question, sorry, I have a question for, I thought you were Sean sitting back there the whole time. I can't see. I can't see, sorry. How much money are we even talking about? Because if we only have,
Yeah.
we only have like 50,000 to work with, half
Well-
of these things, I mean, the majority of these things we need to pull off anyway, so.
So, I mean, I think I've mentioned that this is gonna be a challenging budget. The
Yeah.
the way too early preliminary numbers say that with all the personnel costs that are baked into union contracts and what have you, if you fund those, our operating, and I've estimated revenues, and these are subject to change, but our operating budgets just in the general fund have to be cut by about $250,000 to bring it into balance. And most of the personnel costs, or most of the costs in the general fund are personnel. So that's gonna be a very difficult thing to do this year, much less to fund priorities out of the general fund. With that said, the funding picture on streets is looking up because of the new legislation. We're gonna have more money in the capital improvement fund because the oil and gas fund has done well. The marina fund is doing well. The water and sewer fund, we do those stepwise and orderly rate increases, so that's helpful. So the general fund is the one that's under pressure. The rest of the funds are doing, fairly well. Obviously, everybody would like to have more rather than less, but
So-
it's gonna be very challenging in the general fund to do much in terms of initiatives.
At
this point.
best, maybe we could rehab a couple bathrooms.
Well, some of that might come out of the capital improvement.
Okay.
Fund. So we'll look at all of that, but I guess the point is, there's not dollars here to fund new initiatives very easily without us displacing something else that's maybe already in the budget.
Okay.
That being said, though, I do think, like, if council says blight's a priority, I do think continuing to work with the land bank to do some of these things, it's been a great partnership. I do think that, you talk about the Lions Pavilion bathroom, that amphitheater foundation, they want a bathroom in that same area. Could it be some sort of, can we work with them to fund something that would serve both? And, when you do something like that, I think there's some flexibility there. And then, yeah, I think you talk about the bathrooms, can we work with the DDA? So I think regardless of, I think it gives us, when you tell us your priorities, though, it allows us to start looking at ways to accomplish things. So it's not a wasted effort. I think it's something that we kind of keep in the back of our minds. And then when we're, staff sitting and discussing things, we say, oh, maybe we could do this and that'll accomplish this goal. And so I guess any feedback you give us is helpful.
When I look at blight, and one of the things I'd like to see is this, and this kind of fits with more partnerships and cooperation with other entities, is doing like some preventative things, because, and I don't know how as partners we can do it, but there might be something, you go to meetings and you talk, and but the old hospital, that's, I think, I don't know what's going on there, but it's now a bunch of campers back there. So, I need to bring it to Chief's last attention, because I'm sure that's really not allowed a camper park in the city. And, because those are we don't want another Kennedy school. So, what can we do with Catholic Central? Like with partners, with the foundation, maybe they have ideas, with the land bank. We don't want that to become dilapidated or blight. So maybe, and maybe that would help, having an assistant, so you could be more proactive with these bigger entities that buy these big buildings and then let them sit there and rot, kind of thing.
Are you good on this one so far? I mean,
I don't know if did everyone get an opportunity to say their piece, or?
Thank you, Ed and Bill, for bringing this forward and giving us a chance to kind of hear where we are for moving forward.
So I will send this back out to council in this form, and then if you kind of look at it and say, I think I meant this category, or I was specifically with that services piece, I think the more refined we can get that, it'd probably be helpful. So. All right, thank you.
thank you. Okay, where are we? Citizens' comment. This is an opportunity for citizens in attendance to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement, limited to 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read. Hey, Mr. Gamble.
Just update to council. So the River Street streetscape is out to bid. The bids are due back later this week. We're going to be taking a look at them And then I talked with Andrew Stafford, and we'd like to kind of have a River Street discussion at the next council meeting on the 17th. So we'll go over what we're looking at, and we're still waiting on that RAP grant. So, but we're have to kind of figure out, just go talk to council about what the project's going to look like. So that's the plan. Thank you.
Ms. Roscoe?
The Ramsdale has a candlelight event on February 13th at Hardy Hall, so if you don't know what to do for Valentine's Day, think of that. I also appreciated the summary Jerry Blue did on the blight. That was a nice, neat way to get a lot of information in a short space, so I appreciated that. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Grabowski?
Okay, Bill, I don't know if you noticed on your report of the homes and that you have, you got circuit court, and I think we only went to district court, didn't we, on that?
On which,
It was on, you sent that on January 30th to us, code enforcement, blighted structure update. And it says circuit court. I don't think we went to circuit.
we haven't yet. We're looking at that though as an option.
But in case you go back and forth.
Okay.
Jeff, did you check that bush up at 9th and Cypress?
Yes, we have it on the to-do list.
Okay, thanks. Good.
Good. Ms. Keck?
I think I'm good. Appreciate everybody. I know snow has been quite a project these last few weeks, and it seems to me like we've been keeping up pretty well on it, so thank you, everybody.
Ms. Raditz?
I'm agreeing with Kay. I just want to give a shout out to our Public Works for managing all the snow and keeping everyone safe.
Ms. Lasky?
I just want to say and talk about it, Ed has done an amazing job on that oil and gas. And, it started in 2008. They changed the law so they could make it into an investment. Many cities across the state are still not doing that. The advisor that we use said he already presented several times in Traverse City, and they still have that little minuscule amount that they started with in their oil and gas fund. You invested in 2008, it was like $6,700,000, and we've dispersed to the city, if I can remember correctly, like $7,407. And this is an example of, had we not done the preventative, that what we got in, if we had given it out immediately, it would all be gone. We are on target to give this year to the city, and it's a computation that was set by the oil and gas and approved by city council to give like 3.49%, I think, of this computation. And this year it's like $449,000. The oil and gas income this year has not been anywhere near that. It hasn't been for several years. We're giving out more to the city than we are getting in per year, but there are still a huge amount in that fund that could go on per perpetuity. And if we keep going at this rate, there is a projection. I did the rate of return, and in 10 years from now, that fund could have $29 million in it. And Ed, you did a good job on lining this up. And I thought that's a real plus for the city, and it's an example of not spending every penny. You take good care of it, be prudent, look at the numbers, and it has remained in that fund. And the city has still had more use of it than they put in initially. So it's been a win-win-win, and the money's not all gone. So thank you.
You mean Ed Sean back there?
Yeah.
Thanks, Liz.
I don't have anything. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.